The red light of the Combat Information Center, CIC, painted everything in a veneer of blood. SPY-1 tracking multiple high-speed contacts, bearing 020. The voice of the Tactical Action Officer, TLMO, was tight, strained. Lieutenant Anya Petrova's world shrank to the glowing symbology on her weapons console. The Mark 38 interface, her system, flickered, its predictive logic boxing a lead skiff in a green triangle. TGT-01, likely hostile, solution ready. But her eyes, raw from 24 hours of watch, darted to the thermal feed, a different boat, a heavier shadow sitting low in the water. TGT-03, neutral, not class, DHO. Something was wrong. The system was fixated on the wrong target. Hex, TAO, system indicates positive hostile intent on target 1. ROE is met. Request weapons free. The air was thick with the smell of ozone and recycled air. Her own breath hitched, fogging the peripheral vision of her headset. Tao, Hex, stand by. Her voice was a dry rasp. The system is wrong. A beat of pressurized silence. Lieutenant, we are weapons tight. I am seconds from impact assessment. I need a solution. Her fingers hovered over the manual override. Target 1 was posturing, drawing their eyes. Target 3 was maneuvering, staying just outside the AI's threat box. Tao, Hex, manual override. I am shifting engagement. A sharp inhale from the TAO's station. Shift to what? The system has no solution for engaging target 3. Lieutenant, what did you just say? That target is marked neutral. She ignored him. Her thumb depressed the firing stud. The remote turret above decks would be slewing now. Tao, she said, her voice dropping to a deadly calm. Target 3 is the threat. Firing, now. 48 hours earlier, USS Decatur, DDG-73, approaching Strait of Hormuz, the Combat Information Center, was a pocket of unnatural cold. Lieutenant Anya Hex Petrova felt the recycled air dry her contacts as she ran the final diagnostic. System, online, combat ready. The green text glowed on her console, mocking her with its simplicity. Behind her she sensed, rather than heard, the presence of command. The squeak of Captain Davies's polished shoe and the sharper, more critical silence of Lieutenant Commander Rourke, the Tactical Action Officer, TOO. Lieutenant? The captain's voice was deep, resonant. He didn't waste time. Your system is AI-assisted. What happens when the assistance is wrong? Anya kept her eyes on the screen, her fingers poised over the keyboard. She did not allow her shoulders to tense. The system provides a probabilistic recommendation, Captain. It analyzes sensor data against known threat libraries. The human operator provides the decision. As long as the operator has time to think, Rourke added. His voice was clipped, carrying the inherent skepticism of a man who trusted 20/20 vision and the MK1 eyeball over her algorithms. Anya's jaw tightened. Rourke was referencing the simulation 3 months ago, a simple swarm exercise. The system had failed to tag a pop-up RPG threat. 12 simulated casualties. Her failure. The memory was a cold knot in her stomach, a persistent click-click-click of the simulated chain gun firing fractions of a second too late. She suppressed the memory. It was useless data. The AI's processing speed, she said, her voice flat and technical, allows the operator to focus on validating threats, not just finding them. It reduces cognitive load. Or it creates confirmation bias, Rourke countered. The box turns green, the sailor shoots. That is why I am here, Commander. Anya finally turned, meeting his gaze. Her own was steady, devoid of heat. The box does not fire. I do. A tense silence stretched, filled only by the 60-cycle hum of the servers. She was a systems engineer forced into a gunfighter's role. She'd spent 3 years integrating this system, learning its code, its quirks, its blind spots. She was the only person on the ship, perhaps the only person in the fleet, who understood it at a granular level. This deployment was its final exam, and hers. Captain Davies stroked his chin, his eyes moving from Rourke's challenging stare to Anya's contained calm. He was assessing his weapons, all of them. "This strait is not a simulation, Lieutenant," Davies said, his voice softening just enough to be more dangerous. "The IRGCN boats are not following a script. They will be unpredictable." "Yes, sir. Their unpredictability is the variable. My system is the constant." Davies stared at her for a long moment, searching for the slightest crack in her professional veneer. He found none. She was not arrogant, nor was she defensive. She was simply present. Awaiting orders. He nodded, a single curt motion. "Very well, Lieutenant Petrova. Your system is green. You are weapons hot. The responsibility is yours. The responsibility is yours." The words settled over her like a weighted vest. This was it. The turning point. The system was no longer a test. It was a live weapon under her sole control. "Do not make me regret this," the captain added, as a final thought. "I will not, sir." The captain and Rourke turned to leave the darkened alcove. Anya turned back to her console, her world shrinking once more to the tactical plot. She began setting the ROE parameters, aligning the sensor feeds, her fingers flying across the interface. The ship's defenses were now her own. She was just finishing the final handshake with the SPY-1 radar when the alarm blared, a jarring electronic shriek. Rourke's voice, now all business, snapped over the net from the TAO station. "Bridge, CIC, multiple surface contacts, fast movers, vectoring to intercept. Bearing 350. Anya's screen lit up. 3 small, fast-moving contacts detached themselves from the coastal radar clutter. Rourke's voice dropped, directed only at her. "Showtime, Hex." The symbols solidified on her tactical display. 3 green circles, designated SKF-01, SKF-02, and SKF-03, closing at 40 knots. The system's AI was already working, correlating radar data with the electro-optical feed. The thermal camera zoomed, painting the lead boat in ghostly shades of white and gray. Men on deck, 5 of them, their shapes distorted by the heat of their own bodies. "Bridge, Hex. I have positive visual. 3 fast movers, Boghammer class. No weapons uncovered, yet." "Copy, Hex," Rourke's voice replied, devoid of emotion. "ROE is unchanged. Do not fire unless fired upon or clear hostile intent is demonstrated. You are weapons tight. Your call on escalation." Weapons tight. The safety was on, but her finger was on the trigger. Anya's focus narrowed, shutting out the rest of the CIC. It was just her and the 3 green circles. The FIX split. SKF-01 went wide, SKF-02 slowed, and SKF-03, the lead boat, made a hard turn, vectoring directly for the Decatur's bow. A classic harassment tactic. "He's testing our bow wave," Anya murmured. Her job now was a complex duet. Watch the men on the boat, watch the AI's analysis, and listen to her own gut. The AI's logic box flashed. Maneuver aggressive, intent, uncertain, useless. She already knew that. She switched her feed to the high-def optical. Sunlight glinted off the water, blinding the camera. She cursed, swapping back to thermal. The lead boat was close now, close enough to see the tarp-covered mound on its bow, a heavy machine gun most likely. "Bridge, Hex. Lead contact is SKF-03, closing to 500 yards, attempting to cross our bow. He is not responding to radio hails. Can you warn him off, Hex? Rourke's voice. Non-kinetic. This was the test, not just for her, but for the system. Anya activated the ancillary systems. Her left hand moved to a separate control. Acknowledged. Activating LRAD. She aimed the long-range acoustic device and broadcast the digitized, piercing warning tone, followed by the Arabic, "Cease your approach." The boat didn't waver. The men on deck laughed, one of them making a crude gesture. Anya's eyes flicked to the AI's threat box. It was still analyzing. Weapon status unknown. The tarp. The system couldn't see through the tarp, but her own eyes, trained by years of staring at technical readouts, caught something else. A flicker of movement. One of the men on SKF-03 was moving toward the tarp, his hand reaching. At the exact same instant, the AI's logic caught up. A sensor must have detected the faint metallic signature. The box flashed from green to yellow. Threat identified, HMG, status covered. Tau, Hex, lead boat is moving to uncover weapon. You are cleared for non-lethal deterrence, Rourke said, his voice tense. Dazzle him, Hex, now. Anya didn't need to be told. Her fingers were already there. She selected the integrated laser. Activating Dazzler, eye-safe mode. A thin, intense beam of green light, invisible to the naked eye but blinding on the thermal spectrum, lanced out from the Mk-38 turret and painted the coxswain of SKF-03. The effect was immediate. The man recoiled, his hands flying to his face. The boat's engine sputtered as he lost control, slewing sideways in the water. Anya painted the man reaching for the tarp next. He too flinched back, blinded and disoriented. Over the open channel radio, the laughter was replaced by high-pitched, distorted Arabic screaming. Bridge, Hex, deterrence effective. SKF-03 is breaking off. She watched as the lead boat, now in disarray, turned sharply and fell back to join its partners. The three green circles slowed, reformed, and began a parallel course, well outside the Decatur's 500-yard exclusion zone. They were deterred. For now. A small, private exhale. She hadn't realized she'd been holding her breath. Her fingers uncurled from the console, leaving damp prints. She needed that win. 1-0 system. Rourke's voice came over the net. A dry, almost imperceptible note of respect. Anya nodded to herself, her eyes already on the data logs. The AI had worked. It had confirmed the threat. But a cold prickle of unease ran down her spine. She replayed the sensor log. Her eyes had spotted the man moving to the tarp. She had known it was a threat. She checked the timestamps. Her brain, 1431-5, the AI's final threat identified tag, 1431-8.5, a 3.5-second lag. In a non-lethal encounter, it was an acceptable margin. In a kinetic fight, it was an eternity. It was the difference between firing a warning shot and taking an RPG to the bridge. She filed the data point away, a cold, hard stone in her gut. The Decatur moved at a steady 15 knots, a gray ghost in the placid water. The brief quiet in the CIC was louder to Anya than the alarm had been. The three FIACs were pacing them, just shadows on the horizon, waiting. She wasn't at her primary console. She was hunched over the maintenance terminal in the server alcove, the air thick with the smell of warm electronics and dust. She had the log file from the engagement open. Timestamp 1431-511Z. Operator Hex, eyes on TGT-3. Dwell 1.2s. Timestamp 1431-08-54Z. AI MK38-M4 flag. TGT-03 threat likely. Confidence 78%. 3.43 seconds. A lifetime. Reviewing the film, Rourke's voice cut through the hum. He was standing behind her, a styrofoam cup of black coffee in his hand. Looked like a clean win from my station. Just running the numbers, sir, Anya said, not turning around. Her eyes scanned the lines of code. There was a processing lag. A lag. Rourke took a sip. The boat turned tail, Lieutenant. In the real world, we call that a win. Doesn't matter what the computer thought. It matters if the computer is wrong next. Time. She ignored the jab. She pulled the AI's correlation log. What was it looking at during those 3 seconds? 1431.05, 1431.08, prioritizing. TGT-01, maneuver, erratic, VEC, 110. Prioritizing. TGT-02, maneuver, erratic, VEC, 290. The AI had been distracted. While she was focused on the immediate threat, the man reaching for the tarp on TGT-03, the system was busy analyzing the other 2 boats because they were making fast, aggressive turns. They were posturing. The AI was programmed to see movement as the primary indicator of intent. You should be on your console, Hex, Rourke said, his voice hardening slightly. Not in the guts of the machine. I need your eyes up, not down. My eyes are up, Commander. She finally turned, her own gaze flat. They're just looking at a different set of data. The system is biased. Rourke frowned. Biased? It's a machine. It doesn't get biased. It's code, sir. Code is written by people. People have biases. She turned back to the screen, her fingers flying. It's programmed to equate erratic with hostile. It deprioritizes stable contacts. A cold dread settled in her stomach as the implication fully formed. The FIACs that had just turned away, TGT-01 and TGT-02, they were the decoys. They were intentionally moving erratically to draw the AI's attention, while TGT-03 moved in for the kill. It was a probing attack. They weren't just testing the ship's response. They were testing the systems, and the system had failed. This wasn't a bug she could patch. It was a fundamental flaw in the AI's core logic. The program office had trained the system on simulation data, and that data was wrong. They'd taught the machine that the loudest threat was the deadliest. Anya realized, in that cold, humming alcove, that she could not fix this. Not here, not now, maybe not ever. The multi-million-dollar system she had championed, the system that was supposed to reduce her cognitive load, had just become her single greatest liability. From this moment on, she wasn't just fighting the enemy. She was fighting her own weapon. She could not tell Rourke. Not in a way he would understand. He would hear the system is broken and demand it be shut down, leaving them with only the slow, manually slewed phalanx. She was alone with this knowledge. The burden of it settled on her, heavy and cold. She closed the log file. I'm done, sir. Anya walked back to her primary station, her face an impassive mask. She strapped herself back into the chair, her movements economical and precise. Rourke watched her, suspicion warring with grudging respect. You done tinkering? Yes, sir. She activated the main tactical screen. Ready as I'll ever be. As if summoned by her words, the proximity alarm sounded again, this time a steady, insistent beep. The main body of the strait lay ahead. Bridge, CIC, the sensor operator called out, his voice suddenly tight. Mass contacts. I'm painting 15 fast movers separating from the civilian traffic. They're vectoring. Anya's hands took the controls. The screen flooded with new, hostile green circles. The real fight had just begun. The swarm broke. Like a single organism splitting, the 15 contacts divided into 2 distinct tactical groups. Alpha Group, 7 boats, lit up their radars and accelerated, making high-speed, erratic runs toward the Decatur's port bow. Anya's console exploded in red. The AI, behaving exactly as she feared, fixated on the loudest threat. Imminent threat, Alpha GRP, flashed in an insistent, maddening pulse. The system was screaming at her to engage the 7 decoys. She ignored it. Her eyes were locked on the other 8 boats. Bravo Group. They were moving slower, using the neutral Dow TGT-03 as a shield, staying in the radar shadow of a massive supertanker. They weren't posturing. They were stalking. Hex Tau! Rourke's voice was tight. The system is lit up. Alpha Group. Do you have a firing solution? Tau, stand by! Her voice was ice. Her hands moved over the console, not to engage Alpha, but to fight the system's interface. She was trying to force the primary sensor lock off Alpha Group. The AI was actively resisting her, trying to help by snapping the targeting reticle back to the decoys. Lieutenant, I need a solution, Rourke pressed. Alpha is closing. ROE is met. They are demonstrating hostile intent. Sir, Alpha is the jammer group, Anya said, her teeth clenched. The metallic taste of adrenaline coated her tongue. They're decoys. They're drawing our fire. Your system says otherwise. It's flagging Alpha as the primary threat. This was it. The moment from the simulation. The moment of failure. Anya hit the manual override, a hard physical toggle that sent a jarring click through the console. The AI's automated assistance vanished, leaving her with a raw, unfiltered feed. The screen was a mess of data she now had to sift entirely on her own. She slewed the sensor package manually, locking it onto the slower Bravo Group. The system is wrong, sir, she stated. It was not an accusation, just a fact. I am overriding. Bravo Group is the shooter element. They're pacing us. They're the threat. A heavy, pressurized silence descended in the CIC. She had just openly, in the middle of a mass casualty engagement, declared that the Navy's billion-dollar weapon system was wrong. She felt Rourke's eyes boring into the back of her head. She could feel the doubt from every operator in the room. She was alone, on a digital island of her own making. Her jaw ached. Trust the data, she thought. But which data? The AI's conclusion or the raw feed? She trusted the feed. She trusted the cold logic of her own discovery. The system was looking for the loud threat, not the deadly one. Hex! Rourke's voice was a low warning. He was seconds from countermanding her, from taking the weapon away from her. And then, as if on cue, Bravo Group cleared the supertanker's shadow. The raw thermal feed updated. The neutral Dagao TGT-03 moved to screen them, and TGT-01, the lead boat of Bravo Group, accelerated. It wasn't posturing. It was a straight-line suicide run, right for the Decatur. Anya didn't wait for the order. Tau, TGT-01 is the suicide boat. Bravo Group is the threat. I have the gun. Rourke's response was immediate. The doubt in his voice was gone, replaced by the cold command of a warrior who sees the battlefield. All stations, brace for engagement. Phalanx is active. Hex, you have the gun. You are weapons free. Engage. Weapons free. The words unlocked something cold in her chest. TGT-01 was now inside 1,000 yards. Tracers from its heavy machine gun stitched the water, falling short, but the intent was undeniable. Even the AI, finally seeing a threat it understood, agreed. Its box turned a solid, screaming red. Imminent threat, TGT-01. Hex, engage! Engage 1! Rourke's voice was a sharp command, unnecessary. Anya's hands were already moving. Her world shrank to the glowing green reticle on her screen. The boat was jinking, but its closing vector was constant. This was the bait. It was bait with teeth, designed to draw her eye, to force her into a threat fixation loop. Engage, destroy, reacquire. The mantra of the gunner. Her thumb depressed the firing stud. The CIC, built on vibration-dampening mounts, could not hide the cannon's recoil. A deep, visceral brrrr teeth thrummed through the hull, a sound felt more in the teeth than heard with the ears. It was a low, terrifying tearing of air. On her screen, the world flashed white. The 25mm high explosive rounds, guided by her laser designation, struck the small boat dead center. The thermal feed was momentarily overwhelmed by the signature of the explosion, a bloom of white-hot fuel and shrapnel. TGT-01 ceased to exist. It was vaporized. "Good kill! Good kill!" someone yelled from the tactical plot. Anya ignored it. There was no triumph, no relief, just cold calculation. Her hand was already slewing the sensor package off the fireball before the smoke had cleared, before the system could even post the target destroyed icon. She had spent 2.8 seconds on that engagement. She would not waste another nanosecond on damage assessment. She ripped the camera's focus back to Bravo Group, but in those 2.8 seconds, the battlefield had changed. The remaining 7 boats of Bravo Group, their suicide decoy expended, had scattered. Like pool balls after a hard break, they were moving in chaotic, unpredictable vectors, weaving toward the civilian traffic. "Where are the others?" Rourke demanded. "Hex, where is the shooter?" "They've scattered, sir," Anya said, her voice a low, controlled monotone. Her eyes darted across the screen, her brain working faster than the AI, trying to find the pattern in the chaos. The AI was useless, trying to lock onto 5 different targets at once, its screen a mess of flashing yellow boxes. Threat, uncertain. Threat, uncertain. Anya was on her own. She forced the sensor to its widest field of view. There. One contact wasn't scattering with the others. It was moving away from them, toward the neutral Dow that had been pacing them all along. The Dow. TGT-03. It had been there the whole time, a neutral target sitting low in the water, ignored by the AI's erratic movement bias. Her screen flashed. The Dow, TGT-03, which had been class neutral for the entire engagement, was suddenly reclassified. The AI, sensing something in the new maneuvering, flagged it.